No, I'd say for people listening who struggle with, for business leaders who struggle with feeling like they don't have a seat at the table. I think we've all been part of those networks where when we show up, we feel this need to prove ourselves. We feel this need to fit in, to belong. And it's really hard because a lot of times the room where we are known is not the room we want to be in anymore. We want to be in the room where, this next tier, quote unquote, will accept us and tell us that we're enough. And we seek that validation. And I think for me, I would say, one, I was forced by working with the military. I mean, I remember in the earliest days going to the PX during lunchtime, still in my business clothes, my suit, and just going table to table in the PX, inviting people to reboot. And they were all in uniform in the middle of their workday. And I mean, nobody liked me. Nobody wanted to talk to me, but it forced me to humble myself and to say, you may not care who I am, and that's okay, but I care who you are. And, but with that, I just wanted to point out, I'd say the biggest hurdle for me leading Reboot, if you ask me what's the hardest part about it, I would say it's what you just described. It is a sense that I am not the right person to lead this. And people, when I start a conversation with people, even if I had served as a cook in the military, I check the box and they trust me fully. But because I'm not, there's this sense of, well, how could you possibly do this? Are you a pastor? No. Are you a clinician? No. Are you a veteran? No. So then basically you don't check one of those three boxes. And because of that, I'd say that's the hardest thing is that I feel like a lot of times I start at -5 and I work my way to proving myself to 0. Whereas a lot of people, they start at +1 just because they served in the military for 2 years, or 4 years or whatever it was, and they can move up from there. And I think that's something that I wrestle with on the military side specifically, not so much on the trauma reboot side or on the first responder side. They don't seem to be quite as particular in that way. But, I think that what you just alluded to is something that I believe holds back the veteran population in our country. And I'll say a couple things that are pretty strong opinions here. One, pretty much if I ever hear a veteran say, well, we're a veteran, nobody really cares about us, I basically lose my mind. And the reason is that I don't know if you can name another population in our country that actually has more people trying to help and more benefits available to them than the veteran population. And if you don't believe me, study some other populations who are disadvantaged. I mean, it's insane, the lack of programming for some of those niche populations. Talk to me about, 25-year-old males who were sexually abused as children and now just have to figure it out in life and didn't serve in the military. There's no programs for them. There's no resources for them. There's no money. There's no discounts at Lowe's. There's nothing. It's just tough crap. You live through life and you got to deal with it. And so I think the first thing is that I hear a lot of veterans say, well, only veterans can help veterans, which basically rules out 99.6% of the population. Since only 0.4% of the eligible population served in this war, you're basically saying 99.6% of the world can't help me and doesn't care about me. What a limiting view of reality. What a limiting population. The truth is a lot of people want to help and they love you and they're grateful. They just don't know exactly what to do and how to help all the time, but they want to. They want to. And I would just say I hope that the veteran community will begin to open its aperture a little bit and realize there's a lot more allies out there than what it may seem. Now, does patriotism and veteran culture get used? And get, sort of this, people proclaim to be something, I support the vets when really maybe they don't. Yes, absolutely. That happens with any population. But my experience has been, and I can point to my volunteer base and say there's a lot more people who are grateful and who want to help than people who don't.